And we're back on the Build Phase TV, and today we have our second set of Lethal Protector previews. So let's just dive right in. There's not a lot to chit-chat about here prior to just getting to the meat of the show. So let's see what we got. I can already see we've got an Agent Venom. In true Super Awesome Games fashion, they gave us a delightful title for this article. Lethal Protector Card Preview, a veritable variety of Venom. Oh, alliteration is awesome. Greetings, Faithful versus System fans. Welcome to our second look at the new Symbiotes arc for the game. This 55... Wait, hold on. The first 55 card issue... Oh, yeah. This is the first issue of the arc. So this first 55 card issue we're going to continue looking at today focuses on Venom and other symbiotes. It introduces the evil team, the symbiotes. I really like this team logo. I think it might be a little too narrow. Wait, I'm not ready. In a sense, there's a lot of symbiotes who don't even like Venom, who aren't really represented by the Venom logo, but it's fine. On a meta level, as fans of these IPs, we all know what the Venom symbol means, and it looks freaking cool. So, symbiote symbol, the second issue of this is going to take a look at Carnage. So this is all the same stuff from the first one. Before we look at cards, so they remind us about AKA again, and we're going to see one of these AKAs. So maybe all of this AKA stuff will be... At the moment, it feels like they're telling me things I already know, and the clarification seems more confusing than just assuming people know how AKA works. But maybe this is for people who don't... I'm looking at this paragraph about AKAs here, and I'm assuming there's going to be new information, and maybe actually that's information for newer players, so I'm making it more difficult on myself than it needs to be. I'm not sure. But we'll find out here in a second. Last time we saw Venom himself as well as his symbiote. Today we're going to look at some of the other characters related to that symbiote. All right, so we got to make sure we... Is that paused now? All right, Flash Thompson, main character. Again with the... Now I guess it's paused. Again with the dual affiliation, Spider Friends and symbiotes. I'm not super enthused about the idea of the symbiotes not getting a wild. So hypothetically speaking, if all of the main characters that have the symbiote affiliation are dual affiliated, whether they're affiliated with Spider Friends or Carnage, the other version of Carnage we have is Underworld, which feels a little bit shoehorned, but whatever. As long as they're all dual affiliated MCs, therefore they have access to a wild, at least one wild location. And if the supporting characters on the team don't rely on superpowers a whole lot, if there's a lot of keyword reliance instead, I could maybe see them getting away with not giving this team a wild location. Plus, I think it was Earl pointed out, I don't want to misattribute it, but I think it was Earl pointed out, hey, if they don't give us a wild and they go down this route of making everybody dual affiliated, well, that's 4 more new cards we get in the box as opposed to the Planet of the Symbiotes or whatever the wild card location would be. And I can kind of dig that. All of that being said, I'm not crazy about teams that feel incomplete, and the lack of a wild base or wild special location definitely makes a team feel a little bit incomplete. Moving on. Flash Thompson, he's a 0-5. Not a great start here, Flash. So he's a 0-5-5, aka Agent Venom. Okay. Civilian life, build phase, draw 2, pay a yellow, draw 2 cards. That's a pretty decent return. Having that on a main character is actually pretty good. I like that a great deal. Other characters that have had pay a yellow to draw card effects, well, if they're supporting characters, they don't always stick around that long. You don't get that much value out of it. But on a main character, this feels strong. The Doctor Strange Defender has, I think, pay yellow, or maybe it's blue, draw 1 card, and that guy's seen, marginal play. The people who like him really like him. He's never really broken through and had that big splashy moment where he looked tier 1. But nonetheless, it's functional, and that's half as good as this. Volunteer. At the end of your turn, Flash may gain an XP. Oh. Okay, so before I even look at the level 2, I'm going to predict that there's going to be a tension between using civilian life to try to build up some card advantage, to build up your hands, and just leveling as fast as possible. Maybe the main character doesn't let you draw cards. Ooh, that might be too bad. But I think there's going to be a tension between Giving a character the ability to have a free level up. We've seen this before on like Newborn, I think. He has the option to just level up whenever you want him to, basically. And the strategy around when you do that. So it is true that characters that don't level up till turns 3, 4, 5 generally are kind of looked at as being slow and maybe not that good. But on the flip side, if you lose something off your level 1, or if the level up requires you to do something onerous, like in the case of Newborn, I think you have to dump your hand. Knowing when to do it, knowing when to pull that trigger is definitely some galaxy brain stuff where people have to kind of work through that strategy, and it can be skill testing. So overall, this level 1 is pretty terrible. Honestly, like 055 is an atrocious set of stats. AKA Agent Venom, at least knowing what we know about the card pool right now, is not a super relevant AKA. Like, yeah, that means he gets some extra power-ups, but is this... I mean, I guess maybe with these stats, you do want to put power-ups on this guy. This build phase power is quite good, and the fact that you can level up on turn 1 potentially is also quite good. So let's see what... Hold up. So Flash Thompson, well, of course, this isn't a symbiote, but his cards represents Flash after he lost his legs and volunteers to access the Venom symbiote. Okay. Here's the old previous Agent Venom. Okay. Remember that superpower? Oh man, this art is good. I like this art a lot. Wow. Like, it's so dynamic, and the difference in focus between like the front of Agent Venom's mask and the kind of out of focus background stuff, but like this shard of glass is out of focus, but this one's a little bit more clear. This is an excellent piece of art. This isn't like my favorite character in the world, and I'm really excited about this artwork. Wow, that looks gorgeous. Okay, so the level 2 becomes a 7/7/6 with range. Wow. Okay, so why wouldn't you do this on turn 1? So he has, I guess I'll read the rest of the card before, AKA Flash Thompson, makes sense. Symbiote Strength, put 2 +1/+1 counters on Agent Venom. Oh, so he has the same power as his supporting character. Oh, they even say, remember that superpower right here. I kind of just breeze past it. Incomplete Bond, level down. At the end of your turn, Agent Venom gains an XP. Oh, man. So let me try to think through this and make sure I understand how this guy's going to work correctly. Well, hold on. Let me read here. Please note that Agent Venom has a level down instead of a level up. It works the same as a level up power, except he goes down instead of up. Also note that while his level up power is voluntary, his level down power is not. This represents that the bond is temporary because everyone was wary of Flash bonding fully with the symbiote. A final note, Agent Venom has 6 health and Flash only has 5. So if Agent Venom levels down with 5 wounds, Flash will get KO'd. Oh my goodness. This feels like a lot of information. Okay. So at the end of my turn 1, turn 1, I'm playing this guy. I pay a yellow. I draw 2 extra cards. So now I've got, 11 cards in my hand or 9 cards in my hand, depending upon if I go first or not. And at the end of my turn, on turn 1, I decide I'm going to level up. So going into my opponent's turn, I have Agent Venom as a 7/7 with range. If my opponent can't stun him or chooses not to, which could be the right choice, then he levels down into Flash. But then at the end of my turn, I can just level him back up again. So probably the way this is going to work is what you're going to want to do is stick in this form if you can. If your opponent's threatening 5 attack on turn 1, you almost have to level up, because I don't think you want to take wounds in this form. I think you only want to take wounds when you're level 2, and you only want to take them... Why is this not pulling up? And you only want to take them on your opponent's turn, so that you're face down at the end of... Oh no, it's at the end of your turn. Okay, no, I'm confused. Let me start over here. So even if they stun him on their turn, you still get him. It's not until the end of my turn when my Agent Venom goes back into Flash Thompson. Okay, so scratch what I just said. That's completely backwards. The way you actually want to do this is you want to level this guy up, preferably on a turn. You want to use his yellow power and draw 2 extra cards, almost for sure. then choose to level him at the end of the turn. Then your opponent, whether they can put a wound on this guy or not, and I guess actually you don't want him to get wounded on your opponent's turn, if at all possible, because what you want to do is try to declare attacks where you can get him wounded on your turn. So if I have Agent Venom out, I want him to be face down at the end of my turn so I don't have to worry about going back into Flash Thompson. Yeah, I think that's going to be the basic strategy. This pay a green for 2+1 counters, that's not super impactful anymore. This essentially turns your green location into a slightly more flexible, you won't like her when she's angry, or slightly more flexible chest burst, which are both good cards. But given some of the other things that green locations can do, like you throw a green location at thing and you're not getting 4 in composite stats, you're getting 10 in composite stats. You throw a green at the gem and you're getting 10 attack on all your characters. So this is a fairly low value superpower. There's absolutely going to be times, I can easily envision times where the difference between an attack succeeding or failing is 1 or 2, in which case symbiote strength is going to be a super relevant power, but that's not going to be every time. And overall, the game has kind of, so this card where this power first appeared came out in the first expansion of Versus. That's a fairly low power set. There's been, power creep is maybe the wrong word, but cards have gotten better. Danny and Ben have developed as designers and given us more interesting, stronger effects. So trading a location for 2+1 counters is not as good as it once was, but it's not terrible. I wish you could do it during combat as opposed to only during the main phase, but that's not the most exciting part about this card. The exciting part about this card is the additional card draw you get with Flash and the ability to be a 7/7 going into your opponent's turn 1 if you went first. That seems pretty good. Card draw is just so good, and this is cheap card draw. 1 yellow for 2 cards. I mean, it's not as good as like a gem or whatever, but this is active on your main character. The only card you have to hit in your opener to get that extra 2 cards is a single yellow location. That feels pretty good. Of course, anytime there's yellows, we have to say Jessica Jones, blah, blah, blah. Man, overall, I feel like this main character might have some legs. Managing the incomplete bond and when that flips you down is going to be really relevant. And if there isn't, I'm sure there will be the development of an optimal strategy for knowing exactly how to make sure your incomplete bond is triggering when you want it to. But how impactful is that going to be? I think I'll come back to him. So next up, we have the Agent Venom supporting character. This guy is a 4 cost, again, dual affiliated. This certainly is making it seem like there might not be a symbiote wild. Okay, dual affiliated, symbiosis. Okay, so he gets to keep the +1s when he's face down. 2/2/2 on 4. That doesn't feel very strong. What's the other Agent Venom? He's a 2-drop with 3/3. Man, this power better be good. Clintar Hivemind. Oh, jeez. Okay. So Jason Roosevelt points out in the chat that I just said that this main character might have some legs. That was not intentional. That was not intentional. Oh, goodness. Okay, back to the supporting character. That was a pretty humorous accidental pun. Clintar Hivemind, main phase, pay a red, choose another character with a +1 counter on it, with +1/+1 counters on it. So I might need some clarification if this only triggers with 1 counter, if you have to have multiples, because it does say counters here. Put that many +1/+1 counters on Venom. So it's sort of like Flint, but lets you continue to build your board. So I guess it's more like Megan. That feels pretty good, dude. That could be real strong. Does it justify paying 4 recruit for a printed 2/2? If you don't have that red, this guy is bad and expensive. 4 recruit points for a 2/2/2 is not a good deal. So I feel like you have to at least have the red. And honestly, this is a combo card. Realistically, you have to combo it with at least 1 red location and some other character that has +1 counters, either from plot twists or a might makes right or a power that's printed on them, or that Our Name is Venom card we saw last time. Either way, you're going to need a minimum of 3 cards. This guy plus a red plus a character that it's generated counters, and the generation of the counters might require an additional cards. So this guy, in order to be good, you need a minimum of 3 cards to combo with him, and you probably need more. That is a tall order. That feels like a really big ask. If this can choose another character. Okay, so this could go after enemy characters. So maybe you don't need the whole combo yourself. If your enemy has a character that stacked some counters, which given the meta that we're likely going to be going into, counter generation does seem like it's going to be around. So you use this to benefit off of your opposing character's strength and make your 4-drop into something big. How big does he need to be to make it worth it? So you need your 4-drop and you're committing at least a red. Even if we just assume that this isn't a 3 or more card combo, we just go with the 2 cards and we assume that our enemy player has the counters for him to copy. How many does he need to be good? 3 at least? I mean, even a 5/5 on 4 doesn't feel super great. Probably 5. I mean, no, that's maybe being a little bit greedy. Somewhere between 3 and 5. So let's say 4. Let's say in order to really get good value out of this red power, you want to be able to copy at least 4 counters, so that way you're paying 2 cards and 4 recruit points to have a 6/6 on turn 4. And he gets to keep them when he goes face down. So potentially, if you don't stun whatever the other character is, or if in some way that character with counter stays on the board and you can put a 3rd card into this, another red, he can get even bigger. I mean, how heavily do we want to invest into our 4-drop? Do we want to put 2 reds plus build our deck to have other characters on board that have a bunch of counters in order to get value out of this guy? This seems like he's asking an awful lot from you and not giving you a whole lot in return. I will acknowledge that the ceiling on this guy is potentially really high. Like, if you get a Silver Surfer down and this dude is your turn 9 play, he can get gigantic pretty quickly. So probably the later in the game, probably playing this guy on turn 4 is not going to be his optimal use case, I predict. But then again, we do have main characters that are going to be building up a bunch of counters, and this doesn't have to be a supporting character that you're targeting. It doesn't have to be a friendly or an enemy character. So maybe in the right meta, let me couch it that way. If we're in the right meta where we have a bunch of characters that are building a bunch of green counters, and you can reliably play this guy and pay a red on turn 4 and make him a 6/6 or a 7/7 or an 8/8, that's really good. If we go into a meta where there aren't that many characters with counters, so in order to get value out of him, you have to build your deck around generating counters and also have them on board when you play this guy and play the red, and he turns into a 3-4 card combo, that seems much less good. So there's some potential here, but I think overall this is going to be one of those cards that's going to ask too much from you in order to really extract the value that you want to get from a 4-drop, when you could just play a 4-drop like Daredevil, who comes down as a 9/9, and I don't have to do anything else, and he gives all my other dudes benefits. Now, Daredevil's ceiling is lower than Agent Venom, but his floor is much higher. Like, hypothetically, let's say my opponent has a Stand Together or something in their hand, and I play this guy, and even though I got all the combo pieces, I go to throw the red and I get denied, and now I have a 4-cost 2/2 on board. Doesn't feel very good. This guy seems fragile. Potentially powerful, but kind of fragile and a little bit tricky to me. AntiVenom, man, another home run on the artwork, honestly, and another dual affiliated main character. This guy at level 1 is a 4/3/6. He has AKA Venom and camouflage capabilities. Any combat, pay a red. If AntiVenom is being solo attacked, cancel the combat. Okay, turn all your skill locations into a think again. That feels pretty strong. Hard to find. When AntiVenom gets solo attacked, he gains 1 XP. Oh, wow. Oh, I don't know if I like that. So your opponent doesn't want to solo attack into him because you might have the ability to cancel the combat, and they don't want to solo attack into him because he could get XP off of it. And if you're attacking, like if I'm playing AntiVenom, sorry, and I have to declare attacks with this guy, that 3 defense is not very strong. So the idea that I'm going to get wounds on the crackback seems really high. If I'm playing against this guy, what I'm going to do is not declare solo attacks ever. And his stat block is not threatening enough. Like, what supporting characters, that's what it's going to come down to. The only time I'm going to declare solo attacks is if there's other things on the board that are so threatening that I have to declare solo attacks on this guy. I predict this guy doesn't level. At level 2, you could have things like Mesmero, the Brotherhood character who gives opposing characters lumbering. So I shouldn't say he'll never level, but that's rough. If he does level, he is still AKA Venom, still Spider Friends and Symbiote, 766, decent level 2 stats. Not crazy, but decent. Still has the ability to cancel solo combats and cleanse impurities. Main phase, pay a blue, choose a supporting character you own, then remove any number of counters from it, and KO any number of equipment on it. What? Okay, I guess if you have like a Namor with a bunch of -1 counters, or somebody put like a what's the Sentinel equipment? I'm drawing a blank. An inhibitor collar on one of your guys. That's like so narrow though. Maybe we're gonna get more equipment in this set that's like negative equipment that you put onto opposing characters. Oh yeah, okay. Stax points out in the chat that this could also heal wounds. So yeah, if you want to heal wounds off supporting characters, that's probably the best use case for this power. This seems super anemic. Wow. Yeah, you could clip somebody's Serpent Crown. Like my opponent takes my guy with a Serpent Crown and I can pay a blue to clip the Serpent Crown and get my guy back. Doesn't feel very good. Not a reason to play this MC. Like, yeah, I mean, that is a peak use case. It's a valid use case. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but like, do you choose your MC based around the idea that a hypothetical opponent might use a Serpent Crown on turn 7? I mean, it's true. It does. That is a valid use case, but man, I'm not very impressed with AntiVenom. I gotta say. I think he's going to be really hard to level, and I don't think the payoff is that great. Maybe the strategy with this guy is you put so many things out on the board and you swarm the board so hard that your opponent doesn't have the option of relying on team attacks, so that they have to give him some experience. Okay, that gets us to level 2 at least. Then once we're at level 2, we try to play multi-health supporting characters that we can strip the wounds off of so that our board continues to grow and snowball while our opponent's board withers underneath the sustained pressure. That seems to be the strategy that this guy would fit into, but you're working hard for that. I'm not sure about this guy. AntiVenom 7-drop, again, dual affiliated, 882. 882 on a 7-drop feels a little weak, but he does have symbiosis, so he's going to grow, as well as cure anything. When AntiVenom enters combat, remove each +1 counter from each enemy character in the combat. If I want this effect, I'm playing Calypso or Black Cat. Like, this is a good effect. I can't deny that this effect is useful. There's certainly going to be times, like if somebody dumps 4 locations into Sentry and you play this guy, they're going to feel real bad. But if I want this effect, I'm not going to wait till turn 7 for it. Like, if I'm worried that if we're in a meta where I have to worry about +1 counters getting stacked on the opposing side of the board, I want answers that I can weave into my turns. Like, I want to be able to play a 1-drop and a 6-drop on turn 5. That 1-drop goes in, clears off all your counters, and then I can do something else with the rest of my turn. If I need to clear... Did I say turn 5? Turn 6. If I need to clear counters off somebody on turn 6, this guy doesn't help me. If I need to clear counters off somebody on turn 3, this guy doesn't help me. Theo points out that it works on the defense, which is a valid point. So it definitely makes your opponent think twice about how they're going to declare their attacks. And there's going to be some characters that they simply can't attack into the 7-drop with because they'll lose all their counters, and that would be negative. So it is in that case. But is that worth 7 recruit points? I mean, we got Black Cat and Calypso who can strip counters off people starting on turn 1 while declaring attack. Yeah, they can't do it on the defense, but is doing that power on the defense worth 6 more recruit points? I don't know. This guy, I mean, if you're on these teams and maybe this is the 7-drop out of the Spider-Friend 7-drops that you want to play. I guess if you're going hard in the symbiosis paint, this is the guy you play. And his power isn't bad. I do think if you want the ability to pull counters off of opposing characters, there's better and more efficient ways to go about doing it. But if what you want is a character who has symbiosis and has a decent stat line, this guy checks those boxes and his power ends up being gravy. So he's okay. He's okay, I guess. In a kind of particular sort of deck, he's okay. And is that it? Yep, so that's the last one. All right, I'm going to go back to the top and we're going to do a quick thumbs up, thumbs down. Flash Thompson, I think thumbs up on this guy. He might be a little tricky, and he might end up being too tricky for his own good, and ultimately that could be his downfall, is that there's a little bit too much going on, this level up, level down thing. If enough people play this enough times that the sort of rhythm of how to get ahead of his level up, level downs is figured out, he becomes a lot worse. That said, pay yellow, draw 2 cards. This could be an MC that's a combo enabler as well. Old school Agent Venom. This was not one of my favorite 2-drops in the original box. But again, Agent Venom MC, I give that guy a thumbs up. Agent Venom 4-drop, I'm going to give him a thumbs medium. I do think there's some ceiling on this card where he could potentially be powerful. But if you ever end up in a situation where you're playing a 2/2 for 4, that does not feel good. Doesn't feel good. Arguably, he's going to fit into decks that want to have curves that are rotten with symbiosis, and that's going to be his use case more than anything else. Yeah, another comment in the chat points out that AntiVenom would allow you to if you play a Hulkling and your opponent gets a Hulkling and then they beef it up in some way, you could use AntiVenom to cut him back down to size. Pretty narrow, but still, I mean, that's a valid use case. You know, we should entertain all the use cases when looking at new cards, and that's certainly a line of play. Again, fairly narrow, and frankly, if your opponent sees that you're on AntiVenom and you play a Hulkling, your opponent kind of is making a misplay if they stack effects on that guy for you to then cleanse off of him. And I don't think we should ever rely on our opponent making a mistake in order to make a card good. AntiVenom MC, I think I gotta say thumbs down. Yeah. I mean, I did sketch out a strategy that could potentially work with this main character, but it feels like it's asking a lot. This guy seems very kitchen table to me. He's doing some kind of crazy things. If you're a fan of this character, these effects all make sense for the AntiVenom character, and that's all fine. But competitively, I think he's got some big weaknesses. I don't think at a tournament table where opponents are coming in well gauntleted, well practiced, this guy I don't think he's going to level. I really don't. 7 thumbs medium on 7-drop AntiVenom. I think there's some uses for this guy, but the most important word is symbiosis, and that's not something that's like unique to this card. So he might see some play in symbiosis specific decks. In fact, I think that's likely. But outside of that, I'm not sure how much I really like this 7-drop. This guy seems like he was very much designed to be played within this arc. And within, like, there's so much focus on +1 counters over the last couple arcs. He's probably going to see some play there, and he's probably going to see some play, the Cure Anything is like gravy that fits well with the last couple arcs, but the reason you play this guy almost has to be symbiosis. So that's it for today's previews. Overall, I'm pretty excited for this set. I have so many good feelings about Lethal Protector. It is weird to me that they named the set Lethal Protector and there's so much not Lethal Protector storyline stuff going on, but that's okay. This artwork looks incredible. In fact, most of the art choices that we've seen for the cards in this set looks incredible, so I can't complain about that. I don't know. I'm going to think about this AntiVenom. I don't normally like to come out and say say that a card is probably not good enough. Like, this guy seems like, yeah, man, does he ever level? I just don't think he ever levels. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there'll be some more tools within the box. I don't want to say the guy's unplayable, but it seems to me like you got to put a lot of effort into getting him leveled, and then the payoff just isn't that strong. So, okay, I guess that's it for today. All right, go win some games, and I guess I said my sign off backwards. If you like what we're doing here, like and